With Pulau's patch coming to a close and Nanami Remote Star being on the horizon, people are getting super excited about the arrival of the Mech Queen. But I wanted to quickly go over a few things that you should know before you pull on Mech Nanami. But before we do that, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, guys. It always helps the channel grow. Come and join the community. We're having a great time. On to the content. So as I said, we're going to talk about 5 things you should know before pulling on Mech Nanami. So first and foremost, pull for fun. Here's the thing, Punishing Gray Raven, like other games, are meant to be fun. And if you're not having fun playing the game, then why are you playing the game at all? Whenever playing a gacha game like this, where you're picking which characters you want to play, you always want to pull on the characters you think you're going to have the most fun with. And if you're not sure that you're going to have fun with a character, well, in the case of Punishing Gray Raven, there is always a trial stage that is available for you to play the unit for free. And that way you can actually get the feel for the character, for their kit, for their core passive, and actually see if you're going to have fun playing them. Now, I know on the surface that Mech Nanami looks really fun to play, especially when you start seeing her glide around with her mech, but ultimately it's going to come down to personal preference, so try out the trial stage before you pull. Second, she is part of the fire meta. Now, look, even at S rank, Mech Nanami wins. Pulling a single copy is totally worthwhile, because most people see that the good stopping point for Mech Nanami, even long term, is a double S. So if you pull a single copy, you can get the rest of the shards through the pain cage, and then you can get her up to double S, which makes her, in my opinion, a free-to-play friendly unit. I will say, however, at double S, she is still recommended to have her signature unit if you are trying to push content. So maybe not super free-to-play friendly, but I would say overall still fairly free-to-play friendly. You can probably get by with a 5-star. But one of the exciting things about the release of Mech Nanami is now we have 2 of the 3 premier units needed for the fire meta team. Now with Mech Nanami, you can still put together a pretty solid fire meta team, but it will fully come to fruition in a few patches from now. With Mech Nanami's release, the new meta fire team comp is Live Imperia, Mech Nanami, and a 3rd fire unit. I would say this 3rd slot seems to be fairly flexible. I was looking around on other forums in the community as well to see what people were saying. It seems that the top spot actually probably goes to Nanami Pulse. She seems to be the unit that most people say is probably best in slot for that 3rd position, but Live Imperia is going to be doing most of the damage anyway, so I would still say it's fairly flexible. Lee Palefire, for example, even being an A rank frame, also still fits really well into that 3rd slot. He's also got the added advantage that you can farm up his shards to get him up to triple S, which could put him ahead of some of the other units like Karenina if you've only got her still at an S rank. Now with Pulau's patch, you could hypothetically put Roland into the team as well. However, looking at some other details, most people don't really suggest this unless you've got him at triple S with his signature weapon. So if by some miracle you happen to have a triple S Roland with his sig sitting around, feel free to put him in the 3rd slot, but other than that, really, Nanami Pulse or Lee Palefire are both great options that you can have in there. Pick whichever you've got built already. As I mentioned before though, the fire meta team is really going to come to fruition with the release of Lee Hyperreal, but he's like 5 patches from the release of Mech Nanami, so that's why you can totally run with Nanami Pulse or Lee Palefire. In the meantime, they're going to carry you through until he comes out, because it's 5 patches. That's a lot of game time to just sit around and wait, so definitely feel free to at least build one of them. If any of you have played since the launch of Punishing Gray Raven, you've likely got at least one of them. Reason number 3, Mech Nanami has the time stop buff mechanic as part of her kit. If some of you may not know that in this patch of Punishing Gray Raven, they introduce a new mechanic where during certain ultimates and abilities that the time for a challenge actually will stop for the animation to take place. So this gives units like Live Imperia, Selena Capriccio, or Mech Nanami a huge boost when you're trying to push damage on the higher stages of Punishing Pain Cage or in Warzone, because you get free time and free damage during that time stop, so it's huge. Now, especially in the case of Mech Nanami and Live Imperia, with both of them being on the fire team, that's 2 team members that have the time stop mechanic. That's a huge buff. So if you're having that issue trying to just push that like Fire Warzone stage, for example, just a little bit farther, having both units on that team are going to be huge. So definitely a huge value add there. Number 4, she may be subject to a bit of a skill issue. Now, if you've taken any time to read through Mech Nanami's core passive, it's pretty convoluted and pretty messy, but it isn't as complicated as you think. If you want more specifics on that, you can check out the video that Spider2B did where he breaks down her kit entirely. He definitely helps simplify it there. But something to note about the kit is it's not super unga bunga, if you want to call it that. Compared to units like Lucia Lotus, for example, who, once you trigger her core passive, you just spam attack and then you just do increased damage for a short period of time. Or somebody like Bianca Veritas, where there's a bit of min-maxing, but it's effectively the same. You trigger the core passive, you spam the attack, you do a bunch of extra damage. Mech Nanami's is a little bit different in that you need to be in a certain phase with her using her chainsaw mode, and then while you're in that, there are specific timings that you need to do with the attacks and when you choose to release the attack button to really maximize it. Now, that core passive isn't entirely used for damage, so it's not necessarily from a damage perspective, it's from an energy recharge and orb generation perspective. So I wouldn't say it's critical that you need to like maximize your ability with that, but it definitely is going to impact your runs overall if you're finding yourself running out of orbs or not generating your ultimate fast enough. So it will take a little bit of practice to fully do that. I know that's something, for example, I'm going to have to practice and learn because I definitely still have a couple skill issues. But our last and final point, guys, this one I would say is actually a positive for those of you who are a little bit concerned, but the next unit that comes after this one is considered a skippable unit. Now, I know what I just said may upset a few people because the next unit that comes after Mech Nanami is, I don't know if it's Hachima or Hasima, Veiled Star. I'm just going to go with Hasima because that's just how I read it at this point, but I'm probably wrong on that. Hasima Veiled Star is a new unit that's coming after Mech Nanami. She's really cool. She's got a scythe. You can look up some of her animations and some of her playstyle. It is really cool overall, a very flashy unit. But all of the units that are coming after Pulau are pretty solid units and look really fun to play. So I'm sure some of you are going to have to do some picking and choosing on who you want to pull for. Some obvious ones that you're going to pull for are Bianca Abstigma, for example. I personally also want to get Karenina Radiant Dawn, where she's got that sick hammer that she swings around. But if I want to do that, especially with how I've punished myself before, I'm gonna have to do some kind of saving because I'm already dangerously close with trying to get Mech Nanami in time. So one of the helpful things is that while Hasima is really cool, she's a transcendent uniframe. She is a uniframe unit, which when you are always comparing value of units, uniframes are really never as valuable as the omniframes. There's just not nearly as much content or as many game modes to use them in that make them worthwhile. There can be specific exceptions, and if you really want to use them, you can make it work. But if you're talking about like maximizing your damage or maximizing your account, they don't really win out. Even in the case of the Kowloon comp that we have now with Hanying, Pulau, and Chu, that physical team comp still doesn't beat out the current meta physical team comp, even though it's really fun being able to mix some uniframes and omniframes in the same team. So if you're on the fence about pulling simply because you're concerned about black cards and being able to save for some other big units coming down the line, well, one, I know some people will disagree, but you can't save forever. I think most people, if you are just only saving for patch 6 months from now and you don't pull on any other units or play any other units, I think you're gonna get bored. That's just me, but I think one of the big appeals is having different characters to play in this. So I think you should at some point choose to use those black cards on somebody, and there's inevitably going to be units that you don't. Hasima, unfortunately, is one of those units that you're probably not going to pull for. So what's my plan then? Seeing as I already have Liv Imperia, I'm definitely going to be pulling on Nanami Remote Star. I probably won't get lucky, but I'm really hoping I get her early because I am struggling for black cards at the moment because I punished myself on a previous video. But I'm really hoping I can get her early because she's part of the Metafire team comp, and I really want to focus on that because I don't really have any strong mono element comps at this point. So I am definitely going to be pulling on Mech Nanami. I will also then be skipping Hasima because I would much rather pull on Karenina Radiant Daybreak. Because again, her hammer gameplay just looks so cool, and I really want to be able to use her. Just like check this out for a quick second. Like, doesn't this look so much fun. Like, it feels so Monster Hunter to me that it just has me so hyped. So even though, I really want to, it's gonna be tough because there's then another patch that's after Karenina that then goes into Bianca Stigma. So I really want to get those 3 units, Mech Nanami, Karenina, and Bianca Stigma. So they're going to be the 3 units that I'm going to be focusing on. And so I'm currently still free to play on this, but we may have to make some changes or some minor exceptions so I can get all 3 of the units. Maybe I'll look at picking up a monthly pass or something. I don't know. I'll mention it in a future video if I do decide to do that. But yeah, that's going to be my goals for now. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. That's 5 things you should know before pulling on Mech Nanami. As I said, safe unit. She is a solid unit. She is a meta unit. She has not yet been replaced or power crept on the CN server. So if you're looking for a fairly future-proof unit, Mech Nanami's it. She's part of that meta fire comp. Definitely a solid unit to pull for. But let me know what you guys think. Are you going to be skipping Mech Nanami? Are you going to be pulling? Let me know in the comments down below what you're planning on doing for this coming patch as well. And also what you think of Pulao. You having fun with Pulao in the previous patch? I know the story was really cool. Loved that musical bit. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.